Hello, my name is Carlee Roeber, and my debate presentation is about whether college athletes should get paid as an extrinsic reward. What is an intrinsic reward? Page 83 of the book defines this term as materialistic prizes or awards. That is, money, medals, and trophies that are given in sport, usually for winning or outstanding performances. The term of student athlete was created in the 1950s when Ray Dennison died from a football head injury playing for Fort Lewis A&M Aggies in Colorado. His widow filed for workers' compensation death benefits. The Supreme Court of Colorado agreed with the school's contention that he was not eligible for benefits since the college was not in the football business. At this point in time, the term student athlete was vague, as college players were not students at play or just athletes in college. Their purpose was to be forgiven by not meeting the academic standards of their peers and that they were students who were not compensated for anything more than the cost of their students. Student athlete became the NCAA's signature term, repeated constantly in and out of courtrooms. Using the student athlete defense, colleges have compiled a string of victories in liability cases. One example of this case involving Kent Waldrop, a Texas Christian TCU running back. During the game versus Alabama on October 26, 1974, Waldrop carried the ball toward the Alabama sideline. As he was swarmed by tacklers, his neck snapped. He lost consciousness. The next moment he remembers was lying in the hospital bed, paralyzed from the neck down. After paying his medical bills for 9 months, TCU refused further coverage. This forced the Waldrop family to rely on charity for 4 years to cover his medical expenses. In March 1993, the Texas Workers' Compensation Commission found that Kent was an employee and awarded him $70 a week for life and medical expenses dating to the accident. However, TCU's insurance carrier appealed the decision and no money was paid. A more recent example of the student-athlete defense was in the case of Kane Coulter. Coulter tried to start the College Athletes Players Association, CAPA, for football players who were seeking to unionize. His and many others claimed that they were university employees and should be allowed to collectively bargain. Coulter stated that the NFL has the NFLPA, the NBA has the NBAPA, and the college athletes would have the CAPA. The case made it to the National Labor Relations Board, where it was shot down by their 5-member board. They stated that college athletes are primarily students and could not collectively bargain. So why is this topic worth debating? This topic has been debated for more than 50 years and finds itself in the news again with a bill coming out of the California State Senate. This bill would allow athletes to be paid based on their names, images, or likeness, NIL rights. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has 30 days to sign or veto this bill. If he accepts this bill, the law will go into effect on January 1, 2023. The NCAA sent a letter to the governor urging him to reject the bill. A similar bill has already popped up in the New York State legislature. So my position is that athletes should be paid for playing sports at the collegiate level as an extrinsic reward. The first opposing view of why college athletes should not be paid is the idea that their time in college is better spent working on a degree and skills in the sport, with the extrinsic reward being those skills in a degree. If they reach the professional level, pay will become their extrinsic reward. The second opposing view is that there is no fair way to pay athletes across the college while also complying with Title IX. Only certain sports generate money for certain schools, so the rest are funded by the school or their athletic department. There is no way to distribute the funds evenly to all athletes, regardless of their sport. The third opposing view is not all schools will have enough money to pay their college athletes. While I understand these opposing views, I believe they are outweighed by the arguments to pay the college athletes who generate money for their schools. The first reason college athletes should be paid is the time commitment they put into being a student athlete is no different than a full-time job, based on the amount of time spent practicing, studying, and playing in each game. The second reason to pay college athletes is the amount of revenue earned through ticket sales, promotion of school's brand, concession, and apparel sales is created through the labor and performance of the athletes during the games. The third and final reason for paying college athletes is the misleading title of student athlete, as some college athletes are paid from boosters and other outside sources. Formally paying these athletes would reduce corruption we see from these bagmen. Time commitment is the first reason why I think collegiate athletes should be paid. Can you imagine having to find time to attend classes, work out, practice, and study film each day? One athlete stated it was a 16 to 18-hour day every day for the D1 football athletes during the season. While they receive a full ride scholarship, their classes are determined by practices and their first choice of major may be denied if it is deemed too difficult. This slideshow shows the mean numbers of hours spent per week and season on each activity by athletes based on their NCAA division. By far, most of their time is devoted to academics and athletics. In Division I, the academics athletics breakdown is 37.3 hours per week and 35.4 hours per week, respectively. In Division II, the breakdown is 35.9 and 33.5. And then in Division III, the academics athletics breakdown is 39.1 and 30.3 in Division III. This is more than twice the time they spend socializing with family and friends, time relaxing, and time spent on other extracurricular activities. Albert Evans, a former safety for Purdue, gave a detailed description of his time as a D1 football player. On this slide, you will see a typical day for a football athlete at Purdue. The typical day starts with a 5 a.m. workout, followed by a quick breakfast on the way to morning classes. After a couple classes, he would go back to the athletic facility for any training, rehab, or treatment needed before heading back for any afternoon classes. There was often no time for lunch. Once classes were done for the day, there would be football meetings and practices. Finally, there was time for the first guaranteed meal of the day at 7 p.m. After dinner would be study hall for classes and then film study for the upcoming game. By the time the schedule was complete, it was already midnight. Rinse and repeat each weekday during the football season. Albert also mentioned that the school did not let him pursue his first two choices for degrees at Purdue, which were engineering and athletic training to prepare for physical therapy. He was forced to his third quote-unquote choice. I put quotes around this as he stated it really was not even his choice. His teammates were steered towards majors like general studies and organizational leadership because they were undecided when it came time to pick a major, and those worked well with their daily football schedule. How can the NCAA claim their focus should be on school when their days are centered around their sport, and the athletes may not get to use their scholarship toward a degree they are interested in? Revenue from collegiate sporting events is generated from the work of student athletes through ticket sales, promotion of school's brand, concession, apparel sales, and tournaments. There are groups being compensated. They are the ticket office, the coaches, the referees, and the athletic administration. If these groups are being paid for their labor towards the revenue, why are players excluded from this? The next slide shows an example of a college's revenue from their football team. Texas A&M University is college football's most valuable program. They have recently averaged a revenue of $148 million. From 2014 to 2017, the Texas A&M Athletic Department earned $260 million in contributions from their alumni, nearly double of what any other schools would make. In addition to these contributions, they are ranked third in ticket revenue, averaging $41 million per year, and sixth in money from royalties and licensing. Their move from the Big 12 conference to the SEC helped increase their revenue from $34 million per year to $41 million per year. For reference, Michigan is third on this list, averaging $127 million in revenue. The term student athletes is already a misnomer, as some players already get paid by boosters or other sources. These people are called bagmen. Stephen Godfrey from Banner Society wrote an article discussing the rules for paying college football players. Some of these rules include paying players only in cash and knowing when and where to discuss the operation. It is a cycle that will not be broken unless we offer an alternative that allows players to be paid above the table. An alternative we can look towards would be the changes made to paying Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes could not be paid until 1971 when the International Olympic Committee removed the requirement of being an amateur, similar to the requirement student athletes have. Olympic athletes could now receive compensation as well as sponsorships from national and sports organizations and private businesses. However, American Olympic athletes were still forbidden from being paid due to U.S. laws at the time. This left the Americans at a disadvantage in reaching the extrinsic rewards of the Olympics, reaching the podium and winning a gold medal. The law was modified by the Ted Stevens Olympic and Amateur Sports Act in 1978, allowing U.S. athletes to get funding from financial awards, sponsorship, or payment while remaining eligible for the Olympics. The Olympians of now can focus on training and participating every 4 years without worrying about how they will pay their bills. My argument is based on 3 points. The time commitment these athletes put into their sport is as much as most people put into their jobs on a weekly basis. The work generates revenue for the school that they only see via full ride scholarships to which they may not get to put towards a major or program they are interested in. Finally, some college athletes are already getting paid, so let's use the revenue their labor helped create and get everyone paid without having to rely on bagmen. Here are my questions for the class. Do you think college athletes should be paid? Why or why not? If college athletes were to be paid, should all college athletes be paid equally, or should it be based in part on the revenue their sport brings in? Here are my references, and thank you for viewing my presentation.